Antonio here, and this is Antonio with Tech. The Stadia app on Google TV is finally and officially available, and I decided to test it out and see how it performs. Help me. Alright, let's jump right in. So the overall stability and performance. I have pretty solid Wi-Fi, and even with lowering the quality to 720p, it renders at times the games unplayable. It comes and goes in waves. Basically, 1 minute it is fine, the next minute it starts freezing. It randomly freezes and skips frame, then it fully freezes for about 5 to 6 seconds, and then it goes back to normal. But then after 2 or 3 times of the games freezing within one match, this specifically happened with Dead by Daylight, Stadia was shut down due to connection issues. Although no issues are going on with the Wi-Fi, and the router is not more than 5 feet away. So what's going on with it? Basically, it seems like Google released a semi-beta app to the Google TV App Store, which is kind of annoying because they took about 8 to 10 months to release this. It seems that they probably needed an extra 1 or 2 months to polish some of those issues off. Of course, when there are no freezes or issues, the app is pretty responsive until it's not, which is most of the time, which is a problem, especially when you're trying to play a game that requires you to be very alert and be very responsive to every movement and every command. Now, that's just the actual app and how it performs. How does it perform when it comes down to the Stadia controller, the response, and the connection? So the Stadia controller, response, and connection. I'll say this right off the bat, the delay when it comes to the input at times makes certain games unplayable. Even when the games are not freezing, it makes it unplayable due to the fact that when you're trying to, let's say, hit a skill check on Dead by Daylight, it's delayed by about 2 milliseconds, maybe a little bit more. So even if you hit at the beginning of the skill check, you probably will end up getting it outside of the skill check, which means that you will lose and the generator will explode. It requires a lot of precision with Dead by Daylight, so it's very easy to miss, specifically with the huge input delay that there is on the Stadia controller right now when you're playing on the Google TV. It has better response on my Google Pixel 5 through Bluetooth, so they need to figure something out in terms of how to make it better and how to connect the controller better to Google TV, or just figured out a way to fix those issues for sure. In terms of the connection, at times it would randomly disconnect mid-game or even right after connecting it, which is kind of strange. Basically, you connected the controller and it was fine, and then all of a sudden it would just shut down the entire thing. It will leave the Stadia app open, but the remote will be completely disabled and there was nothing you could do about it. So now the Stadia app UI. I'll say this, the Stadia UI is smooth and no issues when it comes to sliding through games, and the response on the controller on that aspect is pretty spot on. Still a bit of the delay, but not as bad. You can navigate pretty easily. There's no glitches specifically when navigating between games or even changing settings within the Stadia app for the Google TV. So now some of the positives. For positives, well, shit. I plead the fifth. I'll say this. One main positive, once they fix the issues, we'll be enjoying games on a bigger screen with the Google TV. And also, I think once they figure out all the issues and random shutdowns and delays and freezes, I think it will be a great competitor to consoles, just because you'll be able to plug it in from your Google TV and use this from your app. And once that runs smoothly, I think there's a huge positive in terms of that, which means that you can carry that Google TV little dongle with you, take it with you whenever you want. And if you have pretty decent Wi-Fi, if they fix those issues, of course, because right now it's basically unplayable even at 720. For a few minutes, I thought that it was just because I was trying to run it at 4K and 1080. I was like, well, maybe it's just because the Wi-Fi is still kind of trying to finagle a little bit of that speed, which is usually what happens when you play on your mobile device. You just use the 720, which is the default. But even lowering to 720, it didn't do much, honestly. Pretty much was about the same with the 4K quality and even the 1080p quality. So the 720 quality didn't do much to change that or to reduce the lag or the freezes or the skipping frames, any of that. Now, the negatives, which I feel like this entire review is more just negatives and hoping that they fix that in the near future. So as I said, the Google TV app feels very much unfinished, with so many issues that it should have not been released. That's just my opinion. I think they should have waited to release it. Like, they had over a year, well, actually more like 8 months to develop this app, give or take. And yep, that's how I feel.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
As I mentioned, the controller input and the connection was hit and miss, so that's also a huge negative, just because, I mean, unless you're playing a game that doesn't require much of input, which what game doesn't require you precise input? Maybe some of them don't require you to do as much with terms of skill checks, but even if you were trying to play, let's say, a shooter game, I haven't tried it. I'm going to take a guess that it's probably about the same, and particularly the shooter game, you do need that precision, otherwise, like, you probably most likely are going to die. So, yeah, like something like Fortnite, if Fortnite wasn't on Stadia, it would probably be unplayable as well too at the moment on the Google TV app. As I said, I probably will have more stable gameplay on my Pixel 5 on mobile data than the Google TV app at the moment. And that's saying a lot, since using mobile data I still struggle at times. Well, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to say more stable using Wi-Fi on the phone app. It runs better there. Basically, in the span of 2 hours that I played, I had to restart Stadia or the game at least 4 times. It basically required me to either lose matches, being kicked out of the game, then coming back again to realize in Dead by Daylight that the survivors or the killer had gotten me. And yeah, not the best way to play something like that. You might get away with some games that are very low stakes and games that you don't have too many issues. So final thoughts. While I'm glad that there's a path to expansion in terms of devices for Stadia, there's a lot of growth and improvement on this app. I might make an update on this specific review once an update happens and once the performance improves on the Google Stadia app for Google TV. But until then, there's not much I can say or do. I was super excited to play on Google TV, but a bit disappointed when it came down to actually playing it because it just doesn't make for a very enjoyable experience. So I would say that for right now, unless you're willing to put up with all of that, which kind of gives me a flashback a little bit, but even worse, to when Google Stadia launched about, 2 years ago, I would say just stick to playing on your mobile device if you want to, or playing in your Chromecast Ultra that you have if you bought it if you're a Stadia founder, or just simply using the browser with your computer on a wired connection. I think there's still a long way to go in terms of Wi-Fi connection and the app itself for Google TV. So that's it for today's video. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell to get notified every single time I post. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day, night, afternoon, or whenever you're watching this video. So, bye-bye.